Hello and welcome to Precon Decon, the video series where I deconstruct the pre-constructed decks of Magic the Gathering's history. In this video we're going to start looking at the original Ravnica block, and we're going to start off with Charge of the Boros, which is the red-white guild. I just want to quickly say about Ravnica. This set I think is very beloved. I think Ravnica is one of the, it's an absolute fan favorite plane. That's why we've been there, I think, 3 times now. Yes, because Ravnica returned to Ravnica, and then we had the later set, which I'd fallen out of the game by then, but that's Guilds of Ravnica, I think, and War of the Spark was all set there as well. And Ravnica is pretty great. I think it was really, I feel like, this shift in like how sets are designed, because these days, we usually see in sets, we usually see like factions aligned to certain colors. So like in New Capenna we had families, in Khans of Tarkir we had the clans, we had Shards of Alara. So like all these kind of factions. In Strixhaven we had the colleges, but Ravnica, I feel, was where it started, like this kind of multicolored faction design for a set that would let people kind of point at a 2-color, or in later sets a 3-color combination, and be like, yep, those are my guys. That's who I pledge my allegiance to, this guild or clan or shard or family or whatever. I think in that regard, that's why Ravnica, I think, holds such a special place in a lot of Magic the Gathering players' hearts. Anyway, we're going to start looking at this deck, Charge of the Boros. So we have 25 creatures, 9 instants, 3 artifacts, 23 land, and a mana curve off to the side there. So the other reason Ravnica was really exciting is that it just gave players a lot of multicolored cards to play with, and generally people like multicolored cards, especially in like enemy colors like red-white. Really, there wasn't like a lot of red-white cards, like kind of enemy color cards were kind of regarded as this weird oddity. I guess we had Apocalypse years ago, where they were kind of, that was the theme of the set. And up until now, there hasn't been like a lot of multicolor at all. You maybe get a cycle of them per set or something, but yeah, Ravnica was a set that really, really emphasized multicolor, for these guilds and stuff, which is, I think just another thing of why people really liked it, because people generally like multicolored cards. Anyway, one of the rares of the deck is Agris Kos, Wojtek Veteran. I think that's the intended pronunciation. Ravnica has kind of a lot of Eastern European influences in it. And I think Wojtek is the correct pronunciation. I think it means like like soldier or police officer in Polish, I think. Someone please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong on that. But anyway, Kos is, he's 5 mana for a 3/3. Whenever he attacks, attacking red creatures get +2/+0. Attacking white creatures get +0/+2. So really cool. So obviously, if it's a creature is red and white, it gets both those effects. He gets his own effects, so he's always a 5/5 when he attacks, which is like fairly, chunky to swing into an opponent with. A lot of creatures in the deck obviously benefit from that. I think he's a good rare to have. One thing that's this original Ravnica block did was, basically for each guild you had basically like the guild master and a guild kind of champion, and the guild master was usually like a big rare, really big expensive creature with like a big flashy effect. So for the Boros it's Razia, who's just a big angel. And then you had a guild champion who was usually cheaper to cast and cared specifically more about the colors of that guild. So Kos obviously cares about creatures being red and or white. But yeah, I think he's a really good rare to include, and obviously pushes you towards the strategy of the deck, which is attacking with lots of creatures. We have a single Boros Guild Mage. So this is, Ravnica is also the set that gave us hybrid mana, which will come back to haunt us in Shadowmoor and Eventide. But at the time it was considered kind of revolutionary. This idea that you could play this card for either double red or double white or one of each. And the original Ravnica Guild Mages are hybrid cards. I think in later sets they become properly like dual coloured, like requiring mana of 2 different colours. And with these ones, so they have two abilities which require different colors of mana, whereas I think in future sets they play with the design. It's really interesting to see how the guild mages change between the three Ravnica sets. So Boros Guild Mage gives either haste or first strike to a creature, classic sort of red-white abilities. I think I would have preferred the red to be maybe, I don't know, the red ability to be first strike and the white to be vigilance, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, haste is a good ability. I've talked about haste a load of times in the past. I'm not going to rehash what you always say about haste. But yeah, Boros Guild Mage, all the Guild Mages I think are perfectly great because they're 2/2s for 2 with abilities. So yeah, perfectly fine. I don't know why the Boros Guild Mage is kind of like a punk emo girl, but it's fine. It's I guess they recruit from everywhere, the Legion. 3 Boros recruit. The single hybrid red or white mana for a 1/1 first strike. Yep, perfectly fine. That's the advantage of hybrid mana is that you could have a 1 mana value card be multiple colors, which is good because then it gets both the benefits from costs. And 2 Boros Swiftblade, this absolute casual all-star at my tables when Ravnica came out. 1 red, 1 white for a 1/2 double strike. Yep, just super good. Boros Swiftblade, great card, very elegantly designed. We have 2 Flamekin Zealots, so 1 double red and white for a 2/2. When it comes into play, creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain haste until in turn, so a good board-wide buff. I think Flamekin Zealot features in like some very strange combo decks because it's it's a good like reanimation target. Like if you've reanimated a bunch of other creatures, it's good then to like also then reanimate a zealot that gives the whole board that you've just brought back like haste, and then you can swing for game suddenly out of nowhere. So yeah, I think even without all that trickery, I think it's a good effect because he affects himself as well. So playing the zealot, at the very least, he is a 3/3 haste on his own, in addition to the buffs he's giving to everything else. 3 Sky Knight Legionnaire, absolute classic Boros card here. 1 red white for a flying and haste 2/2. Yep, perfectly fine. Like I think that's absolutely perfectly costed. 3 Thundersong Trumpeters. My friend at the time, Atsu, because he really liked Boros, and he really liked this card. And I think when it came out, I didn't think too much of it, and then like I played against it a few times, and like it's so annoying to deal with. So it just being a 2/1 for 2 is fine, but this ability where like it stops a creature either attacking or blocking for the turn is like actually really flexible, and it really locks things down and messes up kind of maths. It's not as good as say like a master decoy ability where you just outright tap a creature. But I think it's fine. And then 2 Ordrin Commandos. I don't think this is so good. So 4 mana for a 4/1, which is not ideal. Ideally, you'd want that to be at least like 4/2, I think. But for 1 white, you can prevent the next 1 damage that would be dealt to him this turn, which is okay. It's kind of like a bit of a mana sink to put into, like to keep him around. But I don't know. It means that I don't know, opponents maybe have to like focus a bit more than they would think to deal with it. But I think I would just prefer it just had better base stats, honestly. It's okay. We have a single Screeching Griffin, 4 mana for a 2/2 flyer. Pay 1 red, a creature can't block it this turn. It's okay. Yeah, I think that's all right. It's already hard to block, or harder to block, just the fact it has flying. So being able to like remove other blockers out of the way makes it fine. I mean, again, you might have to sink extra mana into it, but yeah, it's fine. A single Greater Forgeling, so 5 mana for 3/4, 1 cost 1 red. Basically has like the old Flowstone ability to give itself +3/-3, so it goes up to what 6/1. Obviously, this is something you want to do as it's swinging and it's not blocked. Then you pump it up, or use it maybe when it's blocking if you really need to like punch up, kill a really big creature. It's okay. Obviously, it's a good target for the Boros Guild Mage. Give this first strike, and then like not much can honestly stand up to a creature with 6 power and first strike. 2 Night Guard Patrols. I think Night Guard Patrol is generally one of my favorite commons in the whole game because I just think it's really good. Honestly, I'm probably oversaying a little bit, but 3 mana for a 2/1 with first strike and vigilance at common, I think it's just really good. It just does a lot. I mean, it's essentially what Youthful Knight for 1 extra mana and has Vigilance. But yeah, I think that just makes it a really versatile attacker and blocker. It being a human and a soldier means that it just has a lot of kind of tribal synergies. Yeah, I used to really like Night Guard Patrol. I used to try and fit it into White Weenie decks at the time. I don't think it's ever been reprinted either, which is weird because it's like such a, as I say, such a simple, elegant, effective common. And then 2 Viashino Slashers. This is not so great. So 2 mana for a 1/2. You can pay 1 red to give it +1/-1 till end of turn. So you pay 1 red for it to go up to 2/1. I mean, I say like I think I'd rather just I think it's actually worse than just being a 2/2 for 2. Honestly, I suppose if you find a way to increase its toughness, you can. It's kind of like a janky fire breathing ability, but overall, I don't think it's that great. And then we have 2 Wartorch Goblins, so 1 red for a Goblin Warrior, 1/1. 1 red, sacrifice him, does 2 damage to a blocking creature. That's okay, I guess. If he gets, if you're attacking and he gets blocked and one of your other creatures is blocked, you can sacrifice him, maybe kill a blocker. I don't know. It's okay. It's like for that ability on a 1/1 for only for a 1-drop. I think that's a fine ability to have. Basically, like a kind of a limited shock. And then we have Bathe in Light. So we're moving now on to the non-creature spells. So now we get to talk about the Boros mechanic, which was not very well received, I don't think. So every guild has its own mechanic, which is like kind of the thing we see in like these sets that are like designed around factions and stuff. So the Boros one was Radiance, which basically means when you target a creature with the Radiance spell also affects every other creature or permanent or whatever. I think it's just creatures actually Radiance affects. No, that's a lie. There are other things. There's the disenchant version which affects permanents. So whatever it affects everything of that same type and color. Which usually means it can somehow, it can sometimes benefit your opponent if they're playing the same colors as you, or in the fact with like Cleansing Beam, it can hit your stuff as well. And in my mind, there was just such an easy change to make to Radiance to make it like 1,000 times better, which is just add like with the same controller to the rules text. So, for example, Bathe in Light, Bathe in Light is perfectly fine, by the way. 2 mana instant, you choose a color, target creature, and each other creature that shares a color with it gains protection from the color and end choice. So, ideally, you use this on your board, you give your whole board protection from a color until end of turn, and that's potentially you just swing unblocked. But what I mean is to have with the same controller, so it'd be choose a color, target creature, and each other creature that shares a color with it and has the same controller gains protection from the chosen color. So then it's definitely only affecting your stuff, or it's definitely only affecting, say, your opponent's stuff, like with Cleansing Beam, where it does 2 damage to a creature and each other creature that shares a color with it. That's my little rant about Radiance. I think honestly, all the original Ravnica guilds, like their first attempt at a keyword is not great. I think Selesnya is probably the best one with Convoke, but then all the others are a little bit iffy. They definitely get better by the time we do return to Ravnica. So Rally the Righteous is like your main pump spell here. So 3 mana to untap a creature and every other creature that shares a color with it, and they will get +2/+0 to turn. That's like a really good buff spell. Obviously, you swing with your guys and then untap them, and they will get a buff. So then they're ready next turn to block as well. Yep, Rally the Righteous is okay. Then we have 2 Dog Piles. So 4 mana instant does damage to target creature or player equal to the number of attacking creatures you control. Obviously, you want to be attacking a lot in this deck, so this is usually actually going to do a fair amount of damage. I had completely forgotten about this card until I was putting the visual of this together, and just like, oh yeah, for some reason I thought this card wasn't so great, and like maybe it's a little expensive, but I think it's like it has a fairly decent like ceiling of what you can do with it. And then 2 Lightning Helixes, absolute star of the deck. Lightning Helix is such a good spell. 1 red, 1 white, does 3 damage to any target, and you gain 3 life. Absolutely great spell. Probably because this is the thing as well. Every guild had this power uncommon, which was like a really, really pushed uncommon. So for Boros, it was Lightning Helix. For Golgari, it was Putrefy. For Orzhov, it was Mortify. Like these really strong uncommon instants or sorceries. So yeah, the fact this deck comes with 2 Lightning Helixes is great. Great card. Cyclopean Snare, not so great though. So 2 mana artifact, 3 tapped out creature, and then you return Cyclopean Snare to owner's hand. This is just super bad. I have no idea why it's like costed like this. If it was like say 1 to cast and like 1 to do the act, 1 to do its ability, or like even the ability was free, I could understand why you'd return it to hand, because then I guess okay, you have to cast it again, which is fine. But like you have to spend 5 mana a time here really to tap a creature. It's just not a great card at all, and like it really, I just don't think it belongs in this deck, and it's just not a great selection. And then the other area of the deck is Sunforger. So 3 mana equipment. Equipped creature gets +4/+0, which is a huge power boost. But it has a kind of more impressive ability, which is 1 red and 1 white. Unattached Sunforger. Set your library for a red or white instant card with mana value 4 or less, and then cast it for free, then shuffle. So this is super good. You can put this on a attacking creature, you swing with it, you deal damage to your opponent, and then maybe like, okay, they've got maybe 2 or 3 life left, you unattach Sunforger to pull Lightning Helix out from the deck and finish them off. Yeah, it's super good. Like, even you don't even really need to attack with it. Just as long as you keep equipping it and paying that red-white, you can just kind of tutor for like whatever spell you need. So yeah, Sunforger is pretty good, in my opinion. And then we just have some mana fixing. So that's things, well, it's obviously a multicolour set, so we're going to see like a lot of non-basic lands and mana fixing in these decks. So a single Terrarian, which is 1 mana, comes into play tapped. 2 tap, sacrifice it, you get 2 mana of any combination of colours. When it's destroyed, you draw a card. Yep. 2 Boros Garrison, so every deck's going to have these kind of bounce lands, the guild bounce lands, where they come into play tap, and when it comes to play, you have to return a land you control back to hand, but then it gives you 1 mana of each colour. And then Sunhome, Fortress of the Legion. So every guild again has like a land to represent their headquarters. So it gives you colourless mana, or you can pay 2 colours, 1 red and white, tap it to give a creature double strike till end of turn. So you got like a lot of really decently good, strong attacking creatures in this deck, and giving them double strike is usually going to be an absolute game changer. So what could have been? So overall, I do think the deck is okay. I think there's a few cards that might have been a little bit better. I'm really surprised there wasn't Boros Fury Shield. So this is like a damage prevention spell, but if you spend red to cast it as well, you get to basically bounce that damage back to another target, which is pretty fun. Incite Hysteria is just a spell that stops blockers, and it's actually a Radiance spell that doesn't hurt you really, because I think it's a sorcery. If you do it on your turn, obviously you stop your opponent's creatures blocking, and even if the Radiance ends up affecting your creatures, doesn't matter because it's your turn. You're not going to be blocking anyway. Sunhome Enforcer, I think, could have been okay in this as well. He's just he's 2/4, and he's got lifelink, and he's got pump ability. Veteran Armor is just another cheap kind of creature you can drop down. He's a 2/2 for 2, and he gives all your creatures +0/+1, which is pretty good. You've got a few kind of frail creatures in here with only 1 or 2 toughness, so making them a bit tougher would have been very appreciated. And then alternate rares, I think Agrus is like a perfectly good rare. Instead of Sunforger, I guess you could have had Firemane Angel. I think this is okay, so 6 mana for a 4/3 with flying and first strike, which is actually quite a threat in the air. And the beginning of your upkeep, if Firemane Angel's in your graveyard or in play, you gain a life, and you can spend 10 mana to bring it back from your graveyard to play. So it does a lot, really. And once you hit 10 mana, it's like very difficult to get rid of this permanently. So yeah, that could have been a decent rare. Or the other rare, I thought maybe Master Warcraft. This 4 mana instant. You basically choose how creatures attack and block for the turn. So you basically get to control the combat phase entirely, which basically just means you attack with everything, and you're going to say like, oh, you don't block with anything. I suppose that's fine. Or you can do, if you're doing a multiplayer game, you can like do some stuff here where you do it on an opponent, and they're like, oh, I'm going to send half your creatures that way and half your creatures that way, and your opponent's creature is going to block. You can do some fun things with Master Warcraft, especially in bigger games, I think. So in summary, yeah, I quite like this deck. I think it's very solid. Nice to see a red-white deck because it's been a rare color combination up till now. I think the card selection is pretty good. I think it does a good job of representing the Boros, and yeah, that's what I think. What do you think of this deck after seeing it? Did you have this deck, and yeah, what do you think of the deck list? Did you play it? Would you make changes to it? Let me know. Stick a comment below. I would like to hear people's stories and opinions regarding Charge of the Boros. But yes. Next video, we're going to carry on looking at Ravnica. Really excited to be looking at these Ravnica decks. It's a set I have a lot of fondness for, so I'm really going to enjoy looking at all the other guild decks. But until then, thank you for watching and listening, and have a good day.